Okay, so for this afternoon, let's discuss the readings, no, the ones I've sent. So we will start. In particular, we will discuss yung the short story entitled "The Ones Who Walked Away from Umelas" by si Ursula K. Le Guin. The Ones Who Walk Away from Umelas. And then we will also we will jump to John Rawls' theory of justice through the notion of the notion of original position through the veil of ignorance. So yan ang topic natin ngayong hapon, these two concepts. So I will start with yung the short story "To the Ones Who Walked Away from Umelas." So I hope that you were able to read it. So I'm expecting that you were able to read the it's only 4 pages. It's only a 4 pages fiction. Of course, it is only an imaginary story about the city of Umelas. So if you were able to read it, the first paragraph describes the beauty, the magnificence of the city of Umelas. So as described, it is a beautiful city. There is festivities, there are festivals, there are carnivals. It's a beautiful city. In short, it is a happy city, a joyful. There is merriment. Maybe you can compare it with pag sinabi mong carnivals, you can think of Star City, or maybe yung ano yun, nasa Laguna, sa Santa Rosa, Laguna, yung what's that called, yung place doon.
Enchanted Kingdom.
Oo, Enchanted Kingdom. As described, kasi ganun ang description. There is merriment. Or maybe you can think of Disneyland or Universal Studios. Ano pa yung mga lugar na masasaya, so or maybe you can also compare it with let us say, for example, BGC, the Bonifacio Global City in Taguig, where you can find tall buildings, skyscrapers, or like Ayala Avenue in Makati, or Ortigas Avenue. You can there's a village at the back of Ortigas. So parang kumbaga the city of Umelas is described as a luxurious, wealthy city, which is an appropriate description of the modern world, So the city of Umela is a description of what we call as utopia, a utopian city, So it is a perfect place, if not perfect, maybe almost perfect. It's a place. It's the best of all possible worlds. The best place that you could ever imagine. That's the city of Umela. So of course it does not exist in reality. You cannot find the city of Omelas anywhere. But sabihin na lang natin, no, pagbigyan natin yung author na let us imagine that yes, this world that we are living is the city of Omela. Sabihin na lang natin na the world that we are in, this modern world, kasi yung our modern world, even in our own house, we are equipped with so many technology. Sa bahay nyo, malamang meron kang flat screen TV diyan. Tapos meron kang sound system na napaka ganda ng sound. Maybe meron kang karaoke machine din sa inyong bahay, masaya, nagkakantahan kayo. Then you have all the appliances, the technologies. So more or less the description of the modern world is like the city that is being described in the short story, the city of Omelas. And so it's a beautifully, it's a picture perfect world. There is development, there is wealth, all the resources are available, food is being provided. It's a perfect city that you could ever imagine. So yun ang description ng sa story. And then somewhere in between, it was mentioned, or towards the end of the story, it was mentioned that there are those who left Omelas, as indicated in the title. The title itself, indicates that there are those who walk away from Omelas. So why? Kasi yung this beautiful picture of the city of Omelas, there is a dark secret behind it. There's a dark truth behind the beautiful image of the city of Omelas. And that's the reason why some people, when they learn the truth, have decided to live away from the city towards an uncertain fate. Di nila alam kung saan sila patungo. Hindi nila alam kung ano ang kahinatnan ng kanilang pag-alis. They are not certain of their future, once they leave Omelas. And yet they still decide to leave Omelas because they could not bear knowing that there is this regarding this secret, this dark truth behind the blooming city of the Omelas. So what is the secret? What is this hidden truth in the city of Omelas? If you were able to read about it.
Okay po. Sir, kung isang bata pong nagsasuffer kapalit po ng happiness ng karamihan po.
Exactly. That's it. Tama yun, Patricia, Michaela. Mark, what is your version?
Yeah, yun po almost same din po na nakakita din sa basement kung saan po tinatago yung bata na kinulong. Ayun nga po sinasabi na beautiful or happiness na without even knowing na yung happiness na yun is nako-convert sa form of child po.
Oh. Yan. So, that's the parang collateral damage. Accordingly, as presented in the story, as framed in that imaginary fiction, that or maybe the reason why the city of Omelas is so prosperous, so wealthy is because there is somebody who suffer. There's somebody, at least one person who suffer in return of the happiness of the majority. So the story is presented as a critique to the concept of utilitarian principle. The story is used to illustrate a critique of the utilitarian principle, because kumbaga as framed in the story, it's like it is saying that what you could think of an ideal world, no, as a utopian society, will always have sacrifices. Kumbaga, it's impossible to imagine a beautiful world where it's all perfect and there's no suffering and pain. Kumbaga, when a society is prosperous, it involves certain forms of sacrifices, and maybe lives of people are being sacrificed. Yan yung concept, no? And as illustrated in the story, many of those when they learn the truth about their city, they have decided to left the city. So it's very clear that the story is presented as an antithesis to the utilitarian principle. Mas maigi na yung hindi maayos ang society, rather than there are people who are being sacrificed, no? Especially lives of human beings. Yan ang picture na gustong ipakita nitong short story na to, those who walk away from Omelas. So when we try to relate to to the real world, no, in some way or another, our human society also involves a lot of sacrifices. So you could think, for example, no, in our civil state, there are soldiers, for example, who has to sacrifice to protect the welfare of the people. Think of the military, no? The armed forces of the Philippines. They have to engage in warfare against terrorists, against bad elements of society, in order to protect the welfare of the majority of the people. So yung buhay ng sundalo, pag nandun ka na sa labanan, most likely you will be injured. So you offer your life as a form of sacrifice to the majority of the people. Another way wherein we could compare this is yung even the simple life of the farmers and fishermen, no? The fisher folks, fishermen, no, na yung pagtatanim, halimbawa you are bilad ka sa araw, sa init ng araw, the entire day, you sacrifice your health, but the fruits of your labor will be for the benefit of the community, of the society. Ganun din yung fisherman, you have to sacrifice. Mahirap yung mangisda, sisisid ka sa ilalim ng dagat, then you have to leave, mangingisda ka sa gabi, because when you have sa gabi kasi yung isda, pagka inilawan mo sa dagat, lumalapit yung mga isda sa bangka, so mas madaling hulihin yung isda sa gabi. And then they offer their lives also, kasi mahirap din na masakit yung mga eardrums nila pag sumisisid sa dagat. So it's an example, common examples lang natin. It does not necessarily have to be heroic, pero in some forms of another, human affairs, human life always have to undergo certain forms of sacrifices. Yung bata na bagong pinanganak has to undergo a sacrifice from the mother, no? Ganun ang buhay eh. As a child grows, parents have to sacrifice in a certain way for the welfare of their children. Ganun din, no? So, in a microcosmic level, ganun ang the way we portray the utilitarian principle. In the social level, maaari mo rin for example in a political sense, because it is often compared yun nga kasi yung binabanggit nila itong the approach of Duterte on the war on drugs was often cited as a utilitarian. There is a utilitarian element, no? Especially when we talk about EJK, na like if these people are found to have been engaged in illegal activities, tapos may nangyayaring mga EJK. So some would say that it is cleansing. So to get rid of bad elements of society, para walang halimbawa, walang mandurukot, snatchers, robbers that are most likely engaged also with the or involved in drug activities could be seen in a utilitarian manner, kasi buhay yung sacrifice dyan eh. Another way of looking at it is Duterte's train law, no? Yung train law ni Duterte na those who earn a lot have to pay more for taxes. So yung mga malalaking kumpanya have to pay more, and then yung mga less able to pay, such as yung mga low income earners, ay exempted, no? Binabawas. So in a sense that yung those who are more able to pay, sila yung magbabayad ng mas malaki, mas mataas, for the benefit of everyone, for the majority of the society. Pwede mo ring tingnan yan as a utilitarian way. Although there are critics of the train law who would say that wala ring effect ang train law, dahil pag siningil mo ng mahal ang mga businessmen, magtataas din sila ng price sa kanilang products. So the directly affected are those end user consumers, kasi sila yung bibili, no? Mahal na, tataas yung presyo ng bilihin, so sila din pa rin ang mag-suffer, ang mga consumers. Yan, in a global perspective, pwede mo rin tingnan itong city of Omelas, no? When you talk about inequalities in an international level, so we can speak of first world countries and third world countries. In the first world countries, napakaganda ng buhay nila, sort of utopian in a sense. Maybe in France or in Germany, a certain family owns a swimming pool. Maybe every member of the family has its own or their own car, a beautiful house with a balcony, with a swimming pool, and so the quality of life abroad in the first world countries is very high compared to, for example, third world countries, no? Especially post-colonized third world countries. In the Philippines, there are squatter houses. So napakalayo nung agwat, no? So mga indicators ng quality of life. in the first world and third world countries. So how it is compared to the sacrificial child in the city of Omelas. Kasi yung the development in the third world, in Europe for instance, paano nagsimula yung modernity, yung modernization in Europe, paano nagsimula? It began in the Industrial Revolution. So industrial revolution is when the technology is being developed. There are more scientific inventions. But the question is, where does Europe obtain resources, or how does Europe obtain resources to finance the Industrial Revolution? So, ang tanong dito, who financed the Industrial Revolution? So, alam naman natin, historically, that European countries such as Spain, Portugal, Britain, even France, and then of course the United States, they colonized many countries. So when they colonized, they obtained many resources from these countries. For example, in Latin America, such as Bolivia, or Argentina, when during the period of colonization, nagtayo ang mga colonizers, British colonizers, nagtayo ng mga mining companies, wherein they obtain the resources, from gold, copper, silver, zinc, lahat ng pwedeng ma-obtain sa mga resources nila. At yun yung ginamit na resources to finance the Industrial Revolution. So in short, the glory that they had in Europe is owed, kumbaga utang nila, from the resources that they obtained from their colonies. Diba? In short, yung mga ninakaw nila, at hindi lang yun, buhay at dugo at pawis ng mga natives kung saan inagawa nila ng mga resources, at saka yung forced labor sa pagkuha ng mga resources na yun. So historically, ganyan ang pattern. And then in the modern setting, tayo rin naman nagbibigay ng resources sa mga first world. In what way? Yung pagbabayad natin ng annual debt repayments. Debt, yung utang, yung pagbabayad natin ng utang sa financial institutions such as World Bank and International Monetary Fund, kung saan ang nagmamay-ari ay majority of the first world countries. Sila yung major investors sa mga financial institutions na ito. Yung tinatawag nating G8, sila yung mga malalaking bansa sa mundo, So pinautang tayo ng amount, and then pinautang tayo ng amount na alam nating hindi tayo makakabayad. That's why we are being tied eternally habang buhay, or hanggat walang katapusan yung pagkatali natin sa utang natin. And imagine if you look at the annual national budget of the Philippines, yung proposed budget na yearly, the debt repayment occupies 30 to 40% of the budget pie. Napakalaki yan, and that translates to billions of amount of money. So kung dito sana ginamit sa bansa natin yun, it could already modernize our hospitals and even our classrooms, our schools. But unfortunately, it is allocated for debt repayment. Babayad natin sa IMF. So, sinasabi nila na, anyway, nakakatanggap naman tayo ng charity aid, no? Yung mga financial aid ba? AIDS, no? AIDS. Hindi yung AIDS na sakit, but yung aid na tulong, no? From these countries. Pero the point is, merong collateral, ano yan eh, may mga conditionalities yung pagpadala nila ng tulong. And then, yung tulong na pinapadala nila dito compared to the amount of money that we pay them yearly, ay napakalit lang yung tulong nila kumpara sa amount na binabayad natin sa kanila in form of debt repayment. So, actually, interest lang yung binabayaran natin sa utang dahil hindi na natin kayang bayaran yung actual amount. We are perpetually indebted to these countries. That's why, pagka sinabi, for example, ng President of America, you help us in the war in Iraq. You send soldiers to help our Air Force. So, magpapadala instantly ang ating Philippine President ng mga sundalo dito dun sa Iraq, no? So, why do we obey? So, tinatanong natin, why do we obey to this, for example, the US government? We obey obviously because may utang tayo eh. May bayarin tayo na hindi pa natin nababayaran. So, they compel us to do according to what they want because we are, in a sense, indebted to them. Pinahiram tayo ng pera na hindi natin nabayaran. So, kung titingnan mo, ang pera na lumalabas sa first world country papunta sa third world countries through financial aids, maliit lang compared to the flow of money na binayad ng mga third world countries as a form of debt repayments towards the financial institutions. So parang ganun yung yung picture na who supports the first world? Actually tayo eh, third world eh. So the story of Umelas can be interpreted in so many ways. From individual affairs to social and even to global na affairs. So yun ang the picture of utilitarianism is gano, no? There's a need to sacrifice a few members of society to enforce the betterment of the majority. Pero the thing is, the story is presented as a critic. Kasi kung titingnan mo yung ending, it is suggested that we better left the city, no, towards an uncertain fate rather than to have our conscience being bothered by this dramatic and painful suffering of a few members of the society, at least, or maybe at least one member in the story, yung bata na sinasabi ni Mark Christian at ni Patricia Michaela. So it is a critique of utilitarianism, itong si Ursula Le Guin. And we can relate now. So before I will jump to John Rawls' Theory of Justice, which is another imaginary world. I want to hear feedbacks from you with regards the concept of yung the utilitarian picture of society. Pwede nating itanong, is it possible that a society will be prosperous and progressive without necessarily sacrificing its members? Sacrificing a few of its members? Or talagang that's the state of life that we really have to sacrifice? Kasi kumbaga, kung bumalik tayo sa ancient times wherein there are Kumbaga yung the movie, I forgot the movie, yung ano yung movie na about sa mga yung sa Latin America, yung mga natives doon, yung Apocalypto, no? Have you heard of that movie? Apocalypto, wherein it's a state of survival kasi may mga taong nag-i-invade sa kanilang territory. So you really need to fight, organize an army, no? So kumbaga, if you accept that picture, it's a necessity that you really have to, you know, it's a picture of life that you need to sacrifice a few members of society for the betterment of the majority, of all, or if not of the majority. What do you think? Do you think utopia can be achieved without necessarily sacrificing a few of its members? What are your opinions on this? Let me hear from you. What do you think? Are you a utilitarian or anti-utilitarian? Anyone who wants to share his or her thoughts on the utilitarian principle?
So for me po, I'd rather choose to be a utilitarian rather than just being attractive or focused on the aesthetics po, because today po we need more of the relevant in our world. We need to be relevant, we need to be practical, we need to be useful in such things. Because if you're not utilitarian, it's just you're being attractive or you're being full of design or as it is lang po without even being practical po or functional for my
kasi yung utilitarianism nagmula sa concept ng utility, no? Or usefulness. So ayun, in order for laws to be effective, to enforce a certain law or policy, kailangan mong kailangan ng kamay na bakal, no? You need to be able to enforce laws. You need to be strict on that. So kumbaga, the element of yun ang that's why there are people who oppose, for example, yung capital punishment, no? The death penalty law. So kini-question nila, what right do we have to cost the life of another? And so that's why they oppose that. And then yun nga, for laws to be enforced, kailangan mong masampulan and then you have to allow death penalty law. And even in the past, historically speaking, many countries and many monarchies around the world, they practice such forms of punishment, no? In France, for example, and in England, may mga binibitay pa, no? You know the guillotine, the machine wherein there's a blade na malaki. Now once they untie the blade, gugulong yun sa baba, babagsak yung blade at tatabasin yung ulo nung accused criminal. Tapos gugulong yung ulo sa mga tao, no? So that brutal barbaric way of punishment has already been practiced in the past. And the very obvious and common example, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ died through a state punishment. Diba? It's a cruel punishment. Pinapahirapan pa, no? Pinapaakyat hanggang sa mamatay, no? So that's how people are being punished in the past. Brutal way. So yan ang So, yung sabi ni Mark kanina, he would prefer to be a utilitarian. Yan. Okay, thank you, Mark, for sharing your thoughts. Who else? Who else merong gustong i-share?
Share ako po.
Oh, si Juan Gabriel.
Ako naman po, I am against po utilitarianism in general practice siguro kasi I think utilitarianism goes against the very essence of our democracy. Kung if there is a certain portion lang of the population that we will prioritize, di ba po, parang that goes against yung pinapairal natin na sistema, which is na dapat bawat tao ay may pantay-pantay na boses. And I get that naman po na there have been many instances throughout history that utilitarianism really has had to be practiced to achieve a common goal, but in running a society, there are other ways to achieve progress than to sacrifice a portion of your population.
Okay, thank you, Juan Gabriel, for sharing your ideas. Yan, natin yung sinabi ni Gabriel, no? Yung democracy, the very essence of democracy, the concept of democracy, yung sabi nga nila, sa democracy is a voice, ano nga yun, Gabriel, yung by the people, for the people, of the people, no? Yun ba yun, Juan Gabriel? Ano nga yung, yung, ano na yan? Yung formula na yan, no? Ang ibig sabihin ng democracy is for the people, no? The majority, or maybe at least, or maybe all of society. Pero if undeniably in a society, parang mayroong division may pagkakaiba may classification, no? So ang tanong natin diyan, it's the voice of the people, but whose class, no? Who when you speak of people, who do you refer to? Do you refer to the elite members, the rich members, the aristocrats? Do you refer to the wealthy, or do you refer to the poor members of the society? So pag sabi mong maybe it's democratic for many, but it's not democratic for others. So it is against the principle of democracy. I think that's the point that Juan was trying to say. Okay, Mark, may ano ka?
Sir.
May sabihin ka ba?
About lang po din parang ba sinabi niya against po siya. For me po, however, utilitarians believe that the purpose of morality po is to make people better by increasing the amount of good things to happen to them, or specifically in society po. And to decrease the amount of bad things, that's the primary goal of utilitarians po. So I believe there's nothing to be against our democracy naman po Yun lang po for my own.
Okay, thank you, Christian. Parang debate ito. So, salitain natin si Juan Gabriel. Anong mo, Juan Gabriel? Response mo doon.
Sa akin naman po, nakukuha ko na po yung point niya. But, siguro, ito rin yung reason siguro bakit in the past, nakita natin, tingnan po natin yung history natin, may mga instances na tinatry na yung sa pagsasabatas, merong kumbaga parang may mga implications ng ganitong utilitarianism practice. if familiar po tayo sa India,
Mm-mm.
ni Gandhi,
Mm-mm.
yung mga Dalits,
Mm-mm.
nung kinakraft nila yung constitution nila, parang bago pa yung constitution nila, hindi pa sila malaya. When they were crafting their yun yung saligang batas nila,
Mm.
yung mga Dalits, sila yung mga, kumbaga nasa pinakababa ng hierarchy ng mga Hindu.
Mm-mm.
Doon sa original na yun, nung crafting ng batas nila na yun, ang gusto nila ay yung mga Dalit na yun, magkaroon ng hiwalay na electorate doon sa ng general populace ng India.
Mm-mm.
Yun, pinapractice nila is democracy kasi lahat ay may boses, but still it was divisive.
Mm.
So my point is utilitarianism, if practiced by policy,
Mm-mm.
generally is divisive.
Mm-mm. So kasi yung sa example ni Juan Gabriel, in India kasi, if you know the background, merong stratification doon eh. May caste system sila doon kung saan kahit kapapanganak mo pa lang, when you are born to a caste, you are born to yung sa lower classification of the society, namamana mo eh. Kumbaga, halimbawa, you are a son and daughter of a slave. So, ikaw ay pinang-anak ng slave, namamana mo yung pagiging slave mo. So, unlike compared to the Philippines, if you go back to our history, meron din tayong classification eh. Meron tayong alipin, may timagwa, ganyan. Pero yung pagiging alipin natin is not hindi namamana. We become alipin kung nagkakautang tayo, and then the moment you are able to pay your pagkakautang, then you are released from being an alipin. And then, for example, through marriage, nakapagpangasawa ka ng isang timagwa, so then you are also being released from your enslavement, pagiging alipin. But in India, meron talaga yan silang stratification na may levels of society that hindi mo maalis, no? Pag ikaw ay anak ni ganyan, isang alipin, habang buhay mong isabuhay yung pagiging being classified or stratified in that order, in that society. So yun ang problema kasi the concept of democracy, kung walang stratification, is a very good, it's a very ideal concept, but because of the stratification of society, it creates division. So thank you for that short debate with Mark Christian and Juan Gabriel. So now we proceed with genre roles, like Ursula Le Guin. Since Ursula presented his short story as a critique of the utilitarian principle, American philosopher John Rawls ay critique of the utilitarian principle. So, pero ganito, although John Rawls criticized the utilitarian concept, there are elements of the utilitarian principle that he wanted to retain. So, kumbaga selective lang. May parts sa utilitarianism, like for example, liberal democracy, yung concept na yan ay napaganda and it should be applied to society. However, the background of John Rawls, he's a huge fan of Immanuel Kant. So, Kantian itong si John Rawls, So, meaning, he is fan of the categorical imperative of Immanuel Kant, and specifically the second the second principle, no, of the categorical imperative, which says that act, ano nga ulit yung second principle, no, that you do not treat whether your person or another as a means to an end, no? So in short, wag kang gumamit ng tao, no? Wag kang gumamit ng iba para sa sarili mong kapakanan, no? So you do not use other people, no? Do not use others as a means to your own end. Ginamit mo lang siya para sa sarili mong kagustuhan. The principle of humanity is yun yung nag-dominate sa philosophy nitong si John Rawls, no? Kasi for John Rawls, he maintained, like Immanuel Kant, that human dignity is inviolable. What is meant by inviolability, meaning it cannot be violated, no? The principle of humanity, pagkatao, ay walang sino man ang may karapatang humusga or kumitil ng buhay, no? Human dignity is inviolable. So that is why hindi katanggap-tanggap ni John Rawls yung utilitarian concept na merong sacrificial element, no? Sacrifice the few, no? Or even one person, you sacrifice one person for the sake of others, yet that one person is still endowed with human dignity, no? So that's why he came up with his own concept through the notion of the original position through the veil of ignorance. So yun naman ang ating pag-usapan. Okay, before we proceed with John Rawls, anything else? Do we still have some reactions and comments there from the group? Meron pa ba?
Yes, kasi po.
Ayun.
Medyo, po. Pero sa utilitarianism naman po, kasi diba, nag-break na po yun, yung purpose po niya is yung morality, parang to make a life better by increasing po yung mga good things na ginagawa, such as pleasure, happiness, and etc. po. Pero po, kung ang main purpose po ng utilitarianism, which is na sinasabi po doon na parang yung natama yung isang bagay kapag nagkokosto ng happiness sa atin, parang doon medyo po ako. Kasi not all of the things pa na ginagawa natin na nagbibigay sa atin ng tama, ganon.
So may reservation si Mary Joy sa utilitarian principle. O nga naman, kasi yung happiness, hindi na, happiness according to Aristotle is just that's the common goal if we want to be happy in life. But considering that may exemption, meron namang there are type of persons that they're contented with just maybe a simple life, and they're not necessarily let us say parang consciously aiming to be happy. Parang hindi naman siguro. They're just to live is enough for them, that di naman kailangan. But yun nga, there is a misconception also with what really Aristotle meant by eudaimonia, kasi maaring yung simple contentment could already be the meaning of eudaimonia also. So, and if it is a satisfaction to live a simple life, yun na rin, that's a form of eudaimonia already. Okay, thank you Mary Joy for sharing your own thoughts on utilitarianism. So, ano itong original position na sinasabi ni John Rawls, no? Anong position itong pinagsasabi mo? But, sabi ng original position, John Rawls compare the newly born child. Kasi yung sinasabi nitong original position, yung ano natin, infancy period, yung the moment that you are born, or even the moment when you are still in the womb of your mother. Lahat tayo ay nakahubad sa hubad na katotohanan. In that stage of life, that's the original position na sinasabi ni John Rawls, no, that diba, as a child or maybe as a fetus, you did not the way we understand gender, the way we understand identities, no, social identities, ay hindi applicable sa children eh. Kumbaga the pure state of innocence to a child, yun yung gustong compare ni Rawls, na balikan natin yung original position. Yung moment ng panganakan natin na wala pa tayong pangalan, wala tayong pagkakakilanlan kung sino tayo, maaring hindi pa na-identify yung gender o kaninong anak, yun yung gusto niyang balikan doon sa kanyang concept of original position. So, how? Tanungin natin si John Rawls, how to reach that stage or level that you call as original position? Ang sagot ni John Rawls dyan ay through the veil of ignorance. So, what is this veil of ignorance? So, may pahabol si Astro Tony. Ang masasabi ko po sa utilitarianism, I don't agree with it po. Due to the reason, sir, na maraming mga inosenteng tao ang napaparusahan po. In addition to that po, na-violate niya po yung human rights. So, ang pag-iisip ni Astrod at ni Juan Gabriel, no, ay they are concerned of the human rights. So, parang itong si John Rawls din. So, according to John Rawls, parang ang buhay ng tao, there is or in society, there is so-called natural lottery of talents. Ano itong natural lottery? Parang lotto ba? When the lotto draw, have you seen the lotto draw? Mga bula lang yung nagpa-pop up dyan, no? By chance, in other words. By chance, there is a natural lottery of talents kung saan napupunta ba. So, in other words, this natural lottery of talents causes inequality. Paano? Kasi meron tayong pagkakaiba sa isa't isa, no? Siya ay mayaman, siya ay maganda, no? Tapos ako hindi mayaman, o hindi ka gaanong mayaman, hindi gaanong kagandahan, hindi gaanong kapugian, hindi gaanong kagwapuhan, no? So there are differences that resulted to inequalities. So it's part of life, eh. The differences resulted to social injustices, social inequalities, hindi pagkakapantay-pantay. So it is given that in society there is always inequality. But what John Rawls try to achieve is that at least kung hindi man magkaroon ng equal opportunity, at least kung hindi man magkaroon ng equality in society, at least magkaroon man lang ng equal opportunity of resources. So tinatawag ito ni John Rawls na distributive justice. So to give you an example, in a marathon race, so in a marathon race, sabay-sabay tayong nasa starting line, no, sabay-sabay tayong sa starting line, pero going to the finish line, magkakaiba tayo ng resources mayroong nakayapak lang na tumakbo, may nakatsinelas, may nakasapatos, mayroong nakabisikleta, mayroong naka-scooter, may naka-skateboard. So, meron tayong iba't ibang paraan at resources papunta doon sa parehong patutunguhan. So, there is inequality already with the existing resources that we have. To give you another example, for example, in the University of the Philippines, meron silang UPCAT, no? If you're familiar with the UPCAT, kung saan magti-take ka ng UPCAT at kailangan mong ipasa ito bago ka makapag-enroll sa University of the Philippines, which is a state-funded university, meaning it is a public or a government institution. So supposedly, because this is state-funded and a public education funded by the government, so dapat nobody is exempted. Walang discrimination, supposedly. But when the UPCAT results came, fortunately, sino-sino ang mga nakapasa? Although yes, meron ding mga estudyante na nanggagaling sa probinsya, pero majority still ay yun paring mga graduates from the top schools in the Philippines. In short, mga mayayaman naman pa rin yung mga estudyante sa University of the Philippines. May mga sasakyan pa rin, nagaganda ng mga cellphone, na gumagala sa gabi, nagna-nightlife. So may pera. So bakit may mayaman pa rin sa University of the Philippines? Why? Because from their elementary level down to high school, ganyan, nag-aral na sila from a prestigious institution, no? Nag-graduate na ng Ateneo, doon nag-senior high school. So in other words, the preparation is already intense for them, making them able to pass the UPCAT. Pinaghandaan yung iba nga dyan may tutor, no, for the UPCAT. Nag-e-enroll sa mga tutorial classes, no? So pinaghandaan, no? So reason that kung yung mahirap na walang ganong preparation at hindi exposed masyado sa intense na training, ay malamangan, no? Maaring malamangan ng mga those who graduated from elite universities. Kasi ang daming diyan sa UP, daming students from Ateneo diyan kasi kapitbahay lang sila, no? There are those who graduated from private schools nearby in Quezon City na diyan mag-aaral sa University of the Philippines. So the point is, meron ng inequality in society. Parang sort of given na yun given na yun. So what John Rawls tries to address is at least magkaroon ng distributive justice, at least to that point that there should be equality of opportunities towards a better life. So, paano ma-achieve yun? So, ang sagot ni John Rawls diyan, through the veil of ignorance. So, ano ba itong veil of ignorance? So, a veil, in Tagalog, yung tinatawag nating belo, yan yung tinatakip sa ulo, no? Sa mukha. Usually, ito yung kagaya ng sinusuot ng mga madre, no? Veil. At sinusuot din ito ng mga Muslims, no? Yung hijab, ang tawag yata niyan in the Muslims, yung tinatakip sa mukha nila. So, it's a veil, no? A veil of ignorance. So, veil of ignorance pertains to bakit ignorance? Because as if you do not know the social identities of the person, or maybe social classifications, social identities of a certain person. Kumbaga, you put it in a bracket. Set aside mo muna, wag mo munang tingnan kung sino siya. So, to understand it, try to look at person from the Arab world. Mga Arabo ba, takip yung mukha, no? So, lalaki ka man o babae, di ba yung suot mo mahahaba, tapos halimbawa, takpan pa yung mukha. So, how could you identify? You can hardly identify if the person you are facing with is a girl, a boy, or ano siya, no? Kasi nakatakip ang mukha. So, yung ganyan yung veil of ignorance. When you look at a person, what you are going to say is simply his basic humanity. You are only going to recognize that this is a human being endowed with respect and human dignity. So, hindi mo natitingnan kung sino siya, babae ba siya, anak ba siya ng mayaman, o anak siya ng mahirap. Because the social identifications, such as gender, race, even education, social affiliations, religion, these social identities are discriminatory. So, that's why for Rawls, alisin muna ito. And the way to do it is through the veil of ignorance. So, the veil of ignorance is only imaginary. So, it does not exist in real life. But you're only going to embrace it as a way of looking at a human being. So, for Rawls, non-essentials yun yung paging babae mo o lalaki. It does not matter, babae o lalaki, parehas lang tayong tao. Mayaman man o mahirap, parehas lang tayong tao. Maputi man o maitim, whatever race you have, brown, parehas lang tayong tao. We are the same at the basic identity of a human being. We are endowed with the same respect and human dignity. Kaya veil of ignorance ang tawag ni John Rawls. Huwag mo nang kilalanin kung sino siya, no? Mayaman ba siya o mahirap. But we are equal at this level of the original position. Parang bata, nakapanganak lang. Yun yung original position natin na ang bata kasi yun na we do not care kung ano yung pagiging babae, pagiging lalaki, di ba? We are innocent. Parang gano'n, no? Ang idea of the veil of ignorance. Kuha niyo ba itong concept na veil of ignorance? Belo to eh. How this work? How this work? This is only imaginary. No? That when you look at people, for example, no, in real life examples, during the distribution of ayuda, no, distribution of relief goods, o pinapalista natin ng mga makakatanggap, no, at hindi makakatanggap dahil wala ka sa listahan. Ibig sabihin, hindi ka resident dito, or wala kang birth certificate, kahit dito ka pa nakatira, pero dahil you are not registered, you will not be able to receive the relief goods. So these are forms of discriminatory practices. So your social affiliation identifications disables anyone from receiving the relief goods that he wants. So yun yung example ng pagkakaroon ng bias, no. Another example is yung sa tropa nyo, no, na hindi ka oy, gusto kong sumali diyan, no. Ay, hindi ka pwede dito kasi babae ka, no, or magbuhat ka ng wag mong buhatin yan, wag kang gumaya sa amin. Bakit? Dahil babae ka, hindi mo yan kaya, hindi ka pwede dyan. Even in the family, no, notice the way our parent treat your siblings, no, babae at lalaki, no. Kung si lalaki uwi ng bahay sa gabi, okay lang, maglakwat mangligaw, sige, may syuta na, pwede. But for women, for girls, hindi pa pwedeng ligawan yan, hindi pwedeng umuwi ng gabi, dapat umuwi ng maaga, no? So there are restrictions, there is double standard pag babae at lalaki. So these are forms of discriminatory practices. Hindi ka pwede mag-aral doon, yan. Okay lang yung kuya mo kasi lalaki yun, ikaw hindi ka pwede. So mga ganyang practices. So for roles to be able to get rid of that kind of discriminatory and biased practices, we need to adapt or embrace this so-called veil of ignorance. Hindi mo titignan nung pagkatao, kung yung mga non-essential elements ng pagiging tao. So what you are after for is yung basic humanity lang ng tao that is endowed with human dignity and respect. Malinaw ba? Ganun lang that's the way I want to simply explain it, no? So of course, being a philosophical theory, there is no theory that is perfect, no? So of course there are lapses dyan. May mga difficulties din dyan sa theory ni John Rawls. For instance, when you do not consider the historical value of a person, yung mga pinagdaanan niya, mga paghihirap na pinagdaanan niyo sa buhay, when you do not recognize it, it seems there is something wrong, no? It seems there's something wrong that you simply look at the person as equal to everyone, pero undeniably magkaiba naman kasi talaga tayo, Kaiba tayo ng pinagdaanan sa buhay, kaiba ang ating background, and then we tend to look at everyone else as the same. It would in turn become problematic kasi ina-assume lang natin na parehas-parehas lang tayo, although dapat mas higit pa dapat ang pag-treat natin dun sa isa kasi mas nangangailangan siya. Pero John Rawls already anticipated na mayroong ganyang no? That's why he already responded to it already. That for John Rawls, if yes, of course, no, if inequality exists, so in other words, gusto ni John Rawls na equal lahat. Pero kung if hindi maiwasan mangyaring magkaroon ng inequality, for John Rawls, the inequality should be to the advantage of the poor, should be to the advantage of the less advantaged, no? So for example, kulang yung relief goods, so 10 dapat na makatanggap pero 9 lang ang pack ng relief goods, no, na pwedeng i-distribute. Well, of course, pwede mo namang bawasan yung bawat isa, no, sa siyam para magkaroon ng pang 10. That's one way of to approach the problem. Pero the point here is, what if for example siyam lang talaga ang makakatanggap, 10 ang kailangang tumanggap, pero siyam lang ang nandyan. Then you need to consider sino ang hindi makatanggap. So let us say for example, merong 2 tao na probably pwedeng hindi makatanggap. Yung isa mayaman, yung isa mahirap na walang-wala. So mas nangangailangan yung mahirap compare doon sa mayaman. Kung ang mayaman hindi makatanggap, in a sense of equality and distributive justice, injustice yun para sa mayaman. Kayong lahat nakatanggap, ako ay hindi nakatanggap, that's injustice, diba? Kahit pa sabing mayaman ako, pero that is an injustice dahil wala akong natanggap. That's unfair. So how much more ganon din ang sasabihin ng mahirap. Pero yung mahirap, mas nangangailangan siya. So for Immanuel Kant, if it is a must that inequality is inevitable, but it should be to the advantage of the most needy, of the poor. So in that example, kailangan makatanggap yung mahirap at di bali nang hindi makatanggap yung mayaman. So priority pa rin yung less advantage if inequality is inevitable. So ganun that's how John Rawls tried to solve the problem. Kasi may problema sa kanyang kumbaga may glitch ba, may gusot, may butas doon sa kanyang theory. Kasi napaka-problematic. How do you recognize a person? How do you recognize the rights of a Muslim if you do not consider the history? Kung for example, ilang beses ang isang babaeng Muslim, kasi yung babaeng Muslim ay nakasuot ng belo, kung hindi mo siya tatanungin, hindi mo malalaman na ilang beses siya dinadaanan lang nung taxi na habang siya ay gustong sumakay. Ngunit dahil siya ay nakabelo, ay hindi pinapasakay ng mga taxi driver dahil natatakot ang mga taxi driver na maghatid sa mga Muslim village dahil maraming mga hold-uppers sa mga Muslim village. Kaya hindi pinapasakay ang mga Muslim women. Iilan lang nagpapasakay ng mga Muslims. There is discrimination. So how do we know of that experience unless we recognize their story? So ito kasing problematic itong John Rawls dahil as if parang wag mo nang tingnan yung historicity ng tao. Parang gusto mo na lang sabihin na at this level, at least pantay-pantay naman tayo . So sort of mayroong konting glitch mayroong hindi perfect yung theory pero as always ganun talaga. Theoretical effort to come up with this philosophical thoughts ay it's expected na hindi maging perfect, but these are just intellectual practices lang, intellectual exercise ng mga matatalino, no? So given lang yun, it's understandable. That's it. What do you think of this? So in John Rawls' theory of justice, parang pinagsama niya yung dalawang concept, pinagsama niya ang Kant's categorical imperative with the concept of utilitarian principle. Pinagsama na niya. Huwag na kayong mag-argue because pwede namang pagsamahin yung dalawa. So ganyan ang point ni John Rawls' theory of justice through the concept of original position through the veil of ignorance. So, I hope that yung mahirap na konsepto ay napadali natin sa simpleng paliwanag, no, sa inyo. Any thoughts on our discussion this evening? Do you have any reflection on the discussion today? Utilitarianism, and then yung John Rawls' reaction on utilitarianism, that there should be we should consider inviolability of human rights and human dignity. Di mo pwedeng anuhin yan, pwedeng i-violate ang karapatan ng isang tao. Kasi there's a tendency in utilitarianism, naging ganun nga. At some point, we set aside even human rights for the sake of the majority. But is it right? Is it really a moral principle? So, yun ang reaction ng utilitarianism. So, John Rawls is basically a critic of utilitarianism, pero he stays along that lineage, no? Following John Stuart Mill. Utilitarian pa rin naman itong si John Rawls, but with reservations, no? That pwede naman nating pagsamahin yung utilitarian principle. In other words, or in short, parang sinasabi ni John Rawls na pwede naman magkaroon ng utopia na hindi kailangang mag-sacrifice ng buhay. It's possible. Diba? So, in real life setting, kung willing lang yung halimbawa yung mga top billionaires all over the world, top 10 billionaires, no, if they are only willing to give up their wealth and distribute it to the poor, wala sana ang problema, no? Everyone could live harmoniously. As simple as that. So, ang sasabi ni John Rawls, pwede namang magkaroon ng utopia talaga Dahil hindi kailangan mag-sacrifice ng welfare ng minority. That's why he came up with this notion of distributive justice through the concept of veil of ignorance. So, please read. Yun na lang. Please read yung pinag-usapan natin today. Please read The Ones Who Walk Away from Umelas. Just appreciate the literature, the way it was written. Then, tingnan mo, try to describe what is the world being portrayed here. Is it applicable to reality? Basa-basa ka rin ng mga... There are so many diyan sa internet. Some presentation of interpretation of the short story The Ones Who Walk Away from Umelas. And of course, try to understand more on the theory of justice of John Rawls. And then if possible, you read in advance na rin. Mag-advance reading kayo ng Enrique Dussel. Enrique Dussel's Ethics of Liberation. So also a very interesting reading. Okay guys, thank you so much for your time. It's almost 6 now, so we have to adjourn this meeting now. Thank you very much for your time. Okay, so enjoy the rest of the day. Always pray. You reach out to your friends, don't forget, no?
Thank you, sir.
Salamat po, sir.
God bless. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you so
Thank you,
much. Yes. Ingat,
Enjoy
ingat.
din po.
Salamat.
not a game, it's a rich thing.